What's up, everybody? Yeah, I am back from Pennsylvania. Things didn't go exactly as I had planned. Tragically, that is kind of the reality behind hunting, right? It's just one of them things where you either you get something or you don't get something. But anyway, there will be a part two. At least my goal is there to be a part two because I'm going to go up there during the holiday season that's coming up soon for Christmas. I'm gonna be going up there, so I'm gonna try my. I'm gonna try again, and hopefully be able to actually get something this time. But so wanted to actually do a live about something that's been kind of weighing on my mind here recently. And before anybody sees the title and either gets offended or gets like, I guess for lack of a better term, irritated by it, understand that I don't mean that hunting itself is going in a bad direction because hunting is bad. I just mainly mean that hunting, as of right now, is not actually going the way that I think it should be going. And when I say that, I mean the big portion that I'm talking about mostly is the fact that there is so much um, hunting that is done in areas where the deer are so abundant. Well, not abundant, but the deer are so big that it's become sort of the norm. If you don't kill something that is one, I mean, I've heard people say if you can't kill a 180 buck, whatever it is, I don't know. I'm mainly referencing whitetail here, but if you can't kill a 180 whitetail deer, then you're just not a good hunter. Which I'm kind of like, oh my gosh, 180? Seriously? That's a freaking. That's like that's bigger than most of the stuff that's in our area. And like I said, that doesn't mean that there isn't something that's 180, but for the most part, it's just not a reality. I am going to go into that a little bit more in reference to why I think that deer in my area don't get that big. But but yeah, it really irritates me the fact that you watch hunting shows that continuously put people in situations where there are just big deer everywhere. And that's not necessarily where the area is, the people that live there, it's not their fault. And it's not necessarily the people that are hunting it. It's not their fault either. But there's a big difference between hunting an area where the norm, for instance, there's a big difference between hunting an area where the normal size deer is I'll say 160 plus in terms of size. Um, and like a place like where I hunt, where the norm is like no joke, like a normal mature white-tailed buck deer in my area in Southwest Virginia is going to be anywhere from 120 to 140. That's kind of the norm. And I think that there's a lot to do with, in my personal opinion, I think inbreeding has a big effect on that. And also just population. There's so many people out here. Deer just don't get the opportunity to fully develop and grow properly. And like I said, this is all just personal opinion. I know there's going to be exceptions because, like I said before, I know people personally that have killed just gigantic deer in Southwest Virginia, but the amount of deer that are harvested in Southwest Virginia or like the southern states, if you will, the amount of deer that are that will exceed 150 in terms of scoring the rack or the antlers. The 150 score is, I mean, is just kind of far in between from my experience. Now, but if you were to go, for instance, if you were to go to the Midwest, especially the Midwest, you were to go out there, holy smokes, you will find an insanely amount of large deer due to the fact of farming, the amount of farming that goes on out there. Now, like I said, that is not a hit on the farmers or the people that go out there and hunt that. It's just sort of the reality. But what I get really irritated with is, like I said, these hunting shows and these hunting channels and even these podcasts, they'll go on there and tell you like this is how you hunt a big deer. But the truth is that you might actually put towards the information that they give you to try and get a big deer, but the fact is that there just aren't big deer out there like that, and that also comes with management, letting deer grow. But the other factor also comes to come to mind for me in my area, and this varies, but and favorite whiskey, I'm a bourbon guy, but um, my favorite, if I had to pick a whiskey, shoot, what would be my favorite whiskey? Like I straight up just drink bourbon. What's up? What's up? Jay Glenn Lundell or whatever. Sorry, butchered your name. I'm sure. I apologize. But my favorite whiskey, I don't really drink whiskey. So my favorite bourbon, though, my favorite bourbon is Buffalo Trace, 100% Buffalo Trace. But back to what I was talking about. Nothing much, not good. Hey, Buffalo Trace is banging, man. I mean, that's true. It's true. I am wearing a whiskey sweatshirt, but I don't necessarily dislike whiskey. I think honestly, what it came down to was, um, what it came down to with me was in the Marine Corps. I drank so much Jack Daniels that it just like I started to really just have a horrible hate for it because I'll tell you right now, I'll drink Jack Daniels and I will get the absolute worst heartburn on God's good earth. It is insane. Mm, that's good. I'm very picky. I don't know about that. Barrel proof veteran. I don't know about that. Like, I mean, I guess to be fair, you're not necessarily wrong, but I'm sure there's people that are way more knowledgeable about bourbon and whiskey than me that will go to their grave disagreeing with on that. But I don't think you're necessarily wrong about that. I just prefer bourbon over whiskey, but I don't know. I guess I guess I'll concede you're right. But anyway, like I was saying though, back to the topic about hunting deer. Where was I? Do I have a girlfriend? I have a wife, and she is the love of my life. Always has been, always will be. But anyway, back to the topic at hand about the deer, because that's what this topic of conversation is about today. Um, Crap, where did I leave off? You guys got me all distracted. I talked about fiddlesticks. Well, I can't help you there. I'm sorry. But I do hope you find somebody in your life. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you this right now. I probably would not recommend looking for somebody you want to spend the rest of your life with on the internet. Just my personal opinion. Doesn't mean it won't work out, but anyway. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, back to the topic at hand about hunting bucks, whitetail deer. So, like I said, the oh yeah, I remember where we are now. Jeez, that was annoying. Okay, so you have these podcasts that'll tell you all this stuff about um about what to do to hunt big deer, and I think that that's all well and good. But the problem, the biggest issue I have with it is that you could put all that stuff that they tell you to do. You could do every bit of it and still not find any big deer, because it largely depends on uh, the availability of the deer, but also depends on the area you're in. Because one of the biggest problems that I have in my area in terms of like hunting whitetail deer, especially trophy whitetail deer, is the fact that people will legitimately poach and illegally harvest deer, and it really irritates me that that happens. There's nothing you can really. Well, I guess you could always call a game warden or whatever you have in your state, whatever the case may be. But it's just irritating that because 9 times out of 10, even if the guys that get in trouble for illegally harvesting a deer, poaching a deer, even if they get in trouble, they're going to do it again. I mean, let's be real here. This is the reality that we live in. And the problem, that is one of the biggest problems that I have with deer when it comes to management. Because you could be like, right now, I have a really, really beautiful 8 pointer, maybe 6 pointer. I haven't gotten good pictures of him and I haven't seen him up close, but I have a really beautiful year and a half old deer on the property that I hunt. And I would absolutely love for him to grow for a few more years. And the problem is that between all the people that are in the surrounding area that will poach deer, they will shoot literally anything with horns. It does not matter what it is. They will shoot whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want that has horns. Hmm. Good to know. But it's frustrating because, like I said, everybody is because recently I've been watching a couple of these old timers, some of these old timers that have been are just like renowned and known throughout the hunting community about how to hunt like massive whitetail deer, and they'll tell you certain situations, certain stipulations on how to do it and how not to do it. But one of the things that I've noticed with them is just that the fact that they cannot, you can't necessarily take what they tell you to do and copy it because it's just different. Like hunting is different now, and I think hunting is different in a lot of bad ways because right now, like I'll give you a great example. You go to Texas, for instance, and as I said before, this is not an attack or a hit on anybody that lives in Texas or lives in Arkansas or Virginia or Wyoming or wherever. They're just examples, okay? So don't get all offended and get your panties in a bunch. So, and if you do, then get off the channel and go elsewhere because I really don't care. But if you go to Texas, for instance, they basically will raise pet deer for people to go down there and hunt because I know a lot of people from Texas that from my time in the service, and they'll tell me straight up that the amount of deer that the rack size that exceeds one like 50 plus is insanely crazy. There are so many just large deer there, and that's mainly due to deer farming, feeding deer certain like things so that they grow better. And if that's kind of your thing, that's fine. But it's one of those situations where a guy from Texas or wherever the case may be, it doesn't even have to be from Texas, wherever, who has an insanely amount of large deer at his disposal, and he'll be like, "Oh well, I kill I kill 150 plus every year, no problem. But the issue is that you telling people that and then telling people how to hunt it is just kind of, I don't want to say irresponsible, but it's kind of irrelevant because the biggest thing you have to have when it comes to hunting big whitetail is you have to have big whitetail. And there are so many factors that play into that. And one of the other factors that I want to get into is honestly is inbreeding. I I've done a lot of looking in on this and I don't know how true it is. Um because I'm not an expert by any means. I can only tell you what I've read online and on things of that sort. But when it comes to like with deer inbreeding, the everything that I've read says that deer are very resilient to inbreeding. Uh, Maybe that's true, but I really got to say, I really don't think that you can definitively say that they're, even if they are resilient to it. Like let's just say for argument's sake that they are resilient to it and it doesn't affect them. But even after a long while, deer are going to continuously be breeding with their siblings, with their cousins, and just all this stuff. And the problem with that is that it's going to start creating bad genes. And I definitely think on the East Coast anyway, I can't really say on the West Coast, but I definitely think on the East Coast, with as populated as the East Coast is, deer tend to go where they're safer. I mean, deer aren't stupid. They know where they can and can't go in terms of like surviving and thriving, in terms of their species. And so they'll go where they can. And I think with the fact that the the East Coast being so populated and so densely, um, the the habitat for the deer is kind of condensed down so much that the deer are inbreeding at a much, much, much faster rate than normal. And as I said before, I'm not a subject matter expert. This is just me merely explaining what I've read and going through what I have experienced personally. Because it's just the fact of, and like I said, some of this could seriously come down to deer management. Because sometimes, like if you're in a bad rut, no pun intended, but no, if you're in a bad rut and you're just not able to harvest anything good, sometimes you just like you see like an okay deer, an okay buck, and you're just like, I just want to kill that deer. Which I understand. Like I've been like that before. I'm not. I don't do that now. I like to think that I've kind of grown a little bit better and matured to where like I'll allow younger deer to thrive. But it's just come down to management, but also the inbreeding of white-tailed deer on inbreeding on of white-tailed deer on the East Coast is just really not. It's at an uncontrollable rate at this point due to the fact that the East Coast is so densely populated, and the deer kind of go to these little areas where they can thrive and live for a little bit, and then they breed with their immediate family way too much. And that honestly, and to be fair, like I said, I was reading up on this and I actually watched a few videos on it to where people know more about deer genetics. They're like they're biologists and they study this stuff. But I mean, they'll tell you right now that that deer, like bucks especially, will have like messed up antlers. Like that's kind of the theory is that bucks with messed up antlers or whatever are genetically messed up somehow. But apparently that's not necessarily all true. But I think there's more truth to it than they're putting off. Because the amount of like scrub bucks that I've seen for me personally, uh it's I mean, I see anywhere from 2 to 3 scrub bucks a year where the antlers, and there could be there could be other factors to that, to where like bucks that like get into fights and their antlers break and it doesn't grow back correctly. That is something that can be taken into consideration. But also there's the idea that the bucks that are genetically messed up because of inbreeding, I think that there's a lot more that can be said for that. But it's just it's frustrating because, as I said before, all these hunting channels and podcasts of all these great hunters that go all throughout the world and hunt animals, um, and all these guys that hunt whitetail especially, they'll sit there and tell you that this is how you hunt big deer, but they're going and hunting where big deer are in an insane abundance. And I don't really think that you can take that knowledge and kind of copy and paste it to where there aren't as big a deer, due to the inbreeding, due to the poaching, and due to just mismanagement of deer. Uh, and because, like I said, that like I was talking about that buck that I have on my property that I lease. That's he could be a beautiful deer in 2 3 years time, and I would absolutely love for that to happen. But the reality is that he could get poached. That's one. The other reality is like he could get diseased, like he could get some sort of disease and die of disease. I mean, that's the reality. And then on top of that, he could get smoked by a tractor trailer. I mean, that is kind of the reality that you have to like accept when it comes to, when you're trying to hunt big deer. And that's just kind of my take on the whole situation when it comes to hunting big deer. Because sometimes it's just hunting big deer just sometimes just isn't always an option. Everybody wants to do it, but there's just there's a opportunity, there's a chance that you're just not, a really really good chance in some places, that you're just not going to have um you're just not going to have a opportunity, at least a fair good opportunity of hunting a big deer, from my experience. Could I be doing something wrong and not finding the deer? Absolutely. I recognize this. I am still learning to this day how to hunt, and I will be learning every day until I'm unable to hunt, or till the day that I die. That's true. But there's also just the reality of the factors that affect deer hunting, whitetail deer hunting. Oh, also, I kind of forgot about this, but since we're on since I thought about it, I got my deer hide. Uh, so I rehydrated it in a salt brine, and then I washed it with some soap. So right now it's drying, and once it's finished drying, I'm going to apply the tanning solution to it. So it's going to be nice. It is a beautiful winter wonderland here in Southwest Virginia. Funny thing is that when I was in Pennsylvania doing my hunt there, I had an absolute insane amount of snow up there. And then I came down here and then we got more snow. So my wife and my mother in law are joking, and my mother as well, are joking that the snow is kind of following me wherever I go, which I'm not necessarily upset with. I like the snow. I love the snow. I will say though, it is a nasty mess after after it melts. It's kind of a bummer, but it is what it is. What do you do? Whew. So yeah, got the my hide drying right now, and then on top of that, it shouldn't freeze. It's supposed to be like 46 today, but it's going to get really really cold tonight. So I gotta actually uh, hang it up somewhere else. My other hide that I was tanning in a uh, the tree bark tanning solution. It's kind of gross right now. It's kind of got a little moldy, so I've sort of put that on hold a little bit, but I might try to revisit it. It's been salted. It's kind of like in a salt solution, so it's like it's fine, but I definitely I don't know. I think that one might be ruined, which is tragic because I really loved the brown oak color of the membrane on the back of the hide. Which the other one that I did is it's basically just white like normal, but it's okay though. I would just like to honestly get one uh, done properly. But I am gonna go out hunting here in a little bit. I couldn't go hunting this morning because I had a lot of hold on, got a couple of things. Oh, okay, never mind. It's just my wife was texting me. Um, what was I saying? Yeah, so I couldn't go hunting this morning. I was kind of bummed out because I had some other things that I had to take care of. But that's what happens when you're a daddy. You gotta help out where you can. But I do get to hunt this evening, so I'm happy there. And like I said, it's not that big of a deal. The real reason why I wanted to kind of go out this that I've been wanting to go out early is because there's actually a bobcat that is in the area, and I really want to try and hunt that. But I'm trying to. That's a big reason why I've been wanting to go out early in the morning. But like I said, I wasn't able to. So it is what it is. It's fine. But you know, one of the interesting things though about the whole like hunting thing, because I've said this before. I mean, me personally, I like to let deer kind of like grow a little bit. I don't like to just unless I'm specifically trying to like thin the herd or get some bucks out of the area. I'm not going to shoot like a 4 pointer or a basket six, small basket six. But I won't necessarily shoot those unless I'm specifically doing that. But I have said this in the past. Like, if you have property and you want to shoot 4 pointers, you want to shoot 6 pointers or small 8 pointers, whatever the case may be, like, that's totally your prerogative. And it doesn't bother me any. But the biggest, like I said, the biggest problems that I'm having when I watch hunting shows and I will listen to hunting podcasts is these people telling you like how to hunt big deer, and then they just go and tell you like, oh, this is what you do to hunt a big deer, but it's like, yeah, but there are no big deer. So, and like where I hunt, like I said, I have a lot of people who poach. It's really irritating and frustrating. A lot of people around where I hunt poach deer like crazy. And there's only so much you can do, and there's only so much that the game wardens can do to like stop it because they can't be everywhere at once. But it's just frustrating because people don't like they see whatever and then they go at it, you know. And I wish that there was something that could be done, but like I said, the best thing to do, I guess, if you're trying to hunt big deer, at least from my experience hunting big deer in Southwest Virginia, one, you just kind of got to get, you just have to be fortunate enough to have one that'll come in your area. That's legitimately one of the biggest things that you're gonna that'll happen. There are exceptions, obviously, but that's also another thing. People say, you know, well, I've killed whatever, you know, consistently every year, and I just, you know, my thought process to that is, you know, well, what is the like what is the area you're hunting and how much property are you hunting, and also like, you know, what how do you go about hunting yourself, um, because you know one of the, like I said, one of the biggest issues is when people bring that up, they're like, oh well, I kill a decent buck every year. It's like, yeah, well, you're the exception. The exception isn't the norm. Like, you have to, just because some people are able to like have situations where they can have plenty of deer where they can harvest, doesn't mean that that's the norm. Because like I said, I know people who own like almost up to almost 1,000 acres, and I'm thinking like, well, yeah, I mean, if you or your family or you know somebody that owns up to 1,000 acres, they're gonna have way more accessibility and way more options in terms of like big deer, and that's great for them. Like, that's awesome and good for them. But the reality is that the everyday normal blue collar hunter doesn't have that option. And you know, one of the bigger things that people can do, in my opinion, if you want to kill like a sizable buck, like, you need to go to public, which I know is kind of like a little bit of a controversy because I can't tell you how many people I've talked to that have said, you know, oh, there's nothing on public. I'm like, no, there's stuff out there. You just got to go way, way, way back in there. And that's the trick. Like, you have to be a great, you have to really know how to hunt big whitetail bucks, which, like I said, those guys that give you the information to try to hunt them, it comes into play. But you also have to figure out where they are. And I think that the best bet to hunt big whitetail deer, at least in my area in Southwest Virginia, is you got to go to like public, and you got to go like back. I mean, like back in the woods, miles and miles and miles away from everybody, away from everything, and then you have to like hunt hard. And a lot of times, and even then, you might not get anything, because that's the reality. It's hunting, and those big deer, they don't get big for being stupid. It's kind of a joke, or a saying that we have here where I am. You know, big deer don't get big for being dumb. So, and there's a lot of truth to that. But I don't know. That was kind of something that was weighing on my mind a little bit, and I wanted to talk about it some because I think there's a lot that goes into it, and I think that hunting is definitely going in a is kind of going in a bad direction, because you have all these great hunters that have all these just magnificent trophies of these beautiful animals, and they're just like, oh yeah, I shot that in Texas, and it's like, oh okay, so yeah, this is Texas, like, yeah, they basically grow deer there, and it's their pets for the most part. Maybe not in every situation, but you know, man, the snow is melting like crazy. What time is it? Like I said, I do want to head out and go hunting. 10:37. Want to head out and probably go hunting here. Get in there around noon, I guess. Might do another live of me hunting. Problem is though, one of the biggest problems I got right now is there's nothing in my area. That's kind of worth harvesting. Like I said, I got that really nice little 6 or 8 pointer, but I really don't want to. I don't want to get him. I'd like to let him grow. Um, but to be fair, I haven't seen him in a while, so somebody could have got him. I don't know. He could have got hit by a car for all I know. And who knows? Well, I can't shoot fire. I was gonna say I'll go to public. I can't go to public right now. At least I don't think I can. I think the public right now is it's archery, and I don't archery hunt. I suck at it. But right now, for the most part, private property in Virginia is it's rifle season until like January 3rd. So and another thing too, because this might come off as bitter and kind of like irritating to some people because they're like, oh, this guy's just pissed off because he hasn't killed anything, or harvested anything that's worth note that's worth anything that's notable. And to be fair, I can understand where you'd think that, and it's a logical thought process. Believe me, I understand. But I've killed plenty of bucks, and I'm very very happy with what I've been able to harvest. I've by no means harvested like just some massive buck that is worth telling my grandkids about, but I love the deer that I've been able to harvest, and I'm super grateful and just very blessed that I was able to do so. And like I said, the biggest, like one of the big deer that was in my area, a young man shot one, on his own property, in a legal way. But I was super excited for him because that deer was freaking huge, and I was, you know, and like I said, that deer was in my area, so there was an opportunity that I could have, harvested him. But he was bow hunting, and I don't bow hunt, so he got the drop on him, and he was able to get him, and that's great. That's good for him, and because like I said, that deer was freaking humongous. I mean, it would have been the biggest deer I had ever killed if I was able to do it. But it is what it is, and there's going to be more deer. So it's one of those situations where if you don't, because I've gone when I was younger, I remember going one or no, I went 2 seasons without harvesting a deer before, like not even a doe. So there are just times where just things just don't line up, and it is what it is. Sometimes you miss. Sometimes the deer just don't go where you're sitting. Sometimes you don't go enough and you don't get the opportunity. Because that's the other thing. Like if you want to the biggest thing I think is if you want to kill really big deer, like you got to be in the woods all the time. And me personally, like I would love to do that, but I just don't have the time to do so. Yeah, I just don't have the time to do so because I got a family. My son has things that he has to do. I work a full time job, working 12-hour swing shifts. Like it's just different. So, and that's not an excuse. That's just the reality of it, and that's okay. Like I said, I'm not upset by it by any means. I am pretty excited about this for this hide though. I think this hide's going to turn out really nice. Because like I said, I before I went to Pennsylvania, I salted it to kind of preserve it a little bit. Went in there, got some of the salt off, um, and I did a salt brine to rehydrate it, and then I actually washed it with some soap to get the fur itself kind of nice and cleaned up a little bit. And then once this hide dries out some, I'm gonna apply the tanning solution, the pre-bought tanning solution that I got. And I will say this: if you plan on doing like a cape or doing a hide or something like this, I would definitely recommend you just buying the pre-made solution because it's just unless you have because like I said, I did the tree bark tanning, I tried that, and unless you just have a ridiculous amount of time on your hands and like you don't have anything going on and you can devote your time to doing it that way, I would give it a try. But I'll tell you right now, if you're just not really, if you just want to do something quick, easy, and tan a hide or something, buy the pre-made solution. It's so much easier. But like I said, if you want to give that other way a try, like doing whatever method, like the tree bark method or whatever the case may be, give it a go. Might be all right. All the snow is melting off of the because the temperature is coming up quite a bit. It's going to be cold again tonight, but it's supposed to be like a high of 46 today, and it's been severely cold for the past like week here in Virginia. So man, I tell you what though, there was a really nice and there's actually I think that there's some truth to this. I don't know, like I don't really know what it is about white-tailed deer, but the further north you go, the deer seem to get bigger. There might be some simple explanation to that, being that like the deer just I don't know, just grow bigger. I don't know, but I remember I watched this guy. He was hunting in Alberta, Canada, and he killed a 300-pound white-tailed deer, and I'm like thinking, oh my gosh, that's a horse. Like I cannot like the biggest like bodied white-tailed deer that I've seen around here, personally, was like maybe 200. But after you gut them and all that, like the weight kind of drops pretty significantly. So, I mean, I guess gutted, I want to say like 170 is probably the biggest. But I don't know. I think that's so interesting though that how big those deer get, like body wise, not the rack, but the body of the deer, how big they get. Yeah, the further north you go. Because when I was in Pennsylvania, even the deer that even the does that I saw, and like I said, in Pennsylvania, I couldn't kill a doe. I only had a buck tag, but the does were even just thick and just husky, And the fur, their fur might be a little different. Their winter coat might have been a little different due to the fact that it's way colder up there because it got freaking cold up there. I tell you what, I don't get cold when I go hunting. Like it's very rare. I was freaking freezing up there, and I had my warm weather, or excuse me, my cold weather gear. Um, I had all that on, and I was still freaking freezing. Well, hmm. Well, anyway, like I said, that was just something that was on my mind that I really wanted to talk about was the fact that deer hunting is just kind of like it's it's becoming to where it's being misleading in terms of like what hunting is. Because, like I said, you have these podcasts and these hunters, they go out and then they kill these big deer and they don't really give you the full truth behind it. From my view, I could be wrong about it, but from my view, like I said, it's just one of those things where if you want to kill a big deer, you almost have to always go where big deer are. And I know you're probably thinking to yourself like, well, duh. But the problem is that you have to go to places like western states. You have to go to Midwest states where there's just an abundance of feed just littered all throughout. And that's kind of what I'm getting at with the whole situation. It's just that it's all these people that get to travel and go and hunt, whitetail deer in, a dozen different states. They go where the hunting is easier, in my opinion. But I don't know, because I'll tell you right now, and I will go to my grave thinking this. All right, there is a big difference in hunting in going to Texas or going to Nebraska or any another state that just grows insanely big deer. There's a big difference between going there and seeing massive deer regularly and then coming to a difficult place to hunt like on the East Coast where the hunting is a little bit more scarce, a little bit more difficult in terms of big deer. But anyway, I do got to get out of here though because I do want to go out hunting. So I got to get ready and head out. So thank you for whoever was here. I do appreciate it. All the people that did comment, especially the people that were wondering about what my favorite whiskey was. That was fun, and I do appreciate everybody who stopped by, and also the I don't know the lady or the whoever was looking for I don't even know looking for love on the internet. Good luck to you. And I would definitely advise you to not be trying to find your significant other on the internet. That's just my opinion, though. Anyway, see you guys later. Be careful out there. Stay safe and good luck.